Yeah, this book doesn't hold back, dude. You didn't really hold back. You
No.
just said what you felt and how it was. I got to the point to where you went over and sat next to a dude sitting with his rifle like he was praying to and you're just like, I don't even want to know this guy.
I just didn't expect them to give us rifles on the first day. I was like, because I grew up in the city. I never shot guns or anything, and I'm being handed an M16 at like 5 or 6 in the morning, just after getting off, the bus. It was like, holy shit, man! No joke.
Like, no joke. They're just like, this is what you're here for. This is what you're here for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then you go through basic. You get assigned to photography. You got to stick with that. Is that correct?
That is correct. I thought I had a 2-year contract, but turns out that doesn't exist. So
no,
I end up with
4.
I end up with 5 with extra year tacked on because of the camera school.
Okay.
And basically, it's just like a crash course. It's actually on it's on Fort Meade, the school, which is where the NSA is. And I think Snowden was there while I was there. And yeah, basically, it's just like a crash course in propaganda, like how to sort of put together a video package that was showing like our whole mission at, when was it, 2008, when Obama's troop surge started, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The whole mission of Combat Camera was to show that we were transitioning out, and we were going to give, like, they wanted a lot of imagery of the Afghan National Army, the soldiers that we were working with, And so our job was to kind of show that these guys could take over after we left. And we all saw how that went. That didn't go too well.
Oh, yeah, in Iraq, right?
Afghanistan.
Oh, Afghanistan. Yeah, because like you were Iraq was going on as well at the same time, because we didn't pull out of there until 2009. So I'm not trying to get confused on your theater of operations, but you were surging up in Afghanistan while they were withdrawing in Iraq.
Yeah, Iraq was kind of dwindling down. I mean, the whole country was in a civil war, which we started, basically, right? We
vacuumed it. Yeah,
we fucked it up, and we're kind of like,
that's politicians for you, though, bro.
Yeah, but the soldiers have to take credit too. It's a volunteer army. It's not like we were drafted or anything, right?
Right.
And
that is true.
Everyday citizens are complicit too, because their tax money goes to fund these wars. Now, I've often kind of toyed with the idea of, if there was a draft, like if we were like Russia or another country, Korea, where you have to have mandatory service for 2 years or whatever, I wonder if that might actually prevent us from having more, getting more involved in these wars, right? Because everybody's kid would be on the chopping block, right?
Yeah.
And every politician's kid would have to go serve and all that. And at the same time, I think it might even, how divided the country is, by bringing in like, liberal kids and right-wing kids.
And let flat feet people serve. Don't give them an out, make sure that people with flat feet don't get to use it as an excuse or spurs, make sure that those people aren't pussing out and just, calling their daddies with all their money and just getting out of conscription. You know what I'm saying? Because why does one get the other, labels, right? Labels, whether they're liberal or they're conservative or they're, well,
I'm just saying it would put what military does is it introduces you to a whole bunch of kids that you would never, interact with or see.
That's right.
I think there's just such a divide right now because we're in our bubbles and all that. If there was like a mandatory service, and I'm not advocating for them. I'm just kind of toying with the idea.
Sure.
It might actually you'd have kids with Southern kids, Northern kids, all together, kind of seeing that they're not really all that different. It's just politics, and that we're all human beings, basically.
Exactly. I mean, that is true. We are all human beings.
Our political beliefs aside, we're still the same in a lot of ways, I guess.
Still neighbors. Yeah. We're still, we still sit down to go to the bathroom or stand up or whatever, the same one leg on a time with your pants if you got legs, but everybody's got something to say about some analogy. What about us? We don't have legs. Well, you put your shirt on one arm at a time. Oh, you don't got no arms or legs? Are you the Metallica video of one come to life or what, bro? Huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. So you joined in like 2007?
2008, right? Yeah.
2008? Yeah, so that's when you were 18, because you were mentioning 9/11 was when you were in 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And so your combat photography courses, I'm really interested in the f-stop life that you learned there. And do you use autofocus, or are you a manual guy today?
Today,
yeah.
Today, no, I wouldn't use autofocus, but when I was in Afghanistan, I did.
Yeah.
Just because when you're getting shot at, it's kind of, you don't want to be like...
It's like, hold the button. Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I even had, what's it called? I think I had the auto light on too. So like if I were going into, if we were outside and then we would go into someone's mud hut or house, auto exposure would come on. I was not I was not like the best cameraman, I'd say, but I knew what to film. It's not really like the camera work in Combat Obscura is not great. It's very shaky. You can tell I'm like 19 years old. But it's the kind of access that I had to these kids, that like a civilian journalist wouldn't have,
Right.
And
100%.
Yeah.
Right. You're taking photos of things that go back to be looked at and put into dossiers, No. I would imagine. No?
I mean, yeah, there's, well,
I mean, you can't just post everything, You
No. I was not secretly, but I had my, my job, which was to make bullshit, which was to perpetuate the lie that the war was working and we were going to win, and the Afghan army was going to, defeat the Taliban once we left. And then I would film guys smoking hashish and opium while getting shot at. So it was like that dichotomy. But obviously the hashish would not go to I would not send that to my superiors.
Sure. Can I ask you what kind of camera that you were running? Do you want to say the brand? Was it a Canon?
I can't actually, for legal purposes.
Oh, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Because I've just always heard that you take a Canon to battle.
Yeah, right.
Jokingly, Nikon. That's cool. I'll say their names. We'll give them all out there. We'll give them their little Pentax. What's up?
The whole reason, the Marine Corps was trying to sue me, their whole basis, because I had none of the footage was classified, but their whole argument was, what camera were you using? Was it our camera? Like that was like a proprietary legal argument that they had.
I got you.
It wasn't that the footage was classified. It was the footage belongs in the public domain, right? If you're filming for the government, as long as it's not classified.
Yeah. True.
So their whole argument was, I was interrogated by NCIS, and they were like, "So which camera were you using? What kind of camera? Whose camera were you using?" Because they were saying if you were using our government equipment, then technically it belongs to us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's like saying your eyeballs in your brain because your government equipment.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know about that. I get it. They might have offered you a soda pop to get your fingerprints in that interrogation room. You want a Mountain Dew?
You literally are. Right. You literally are government property.
Correct. Because I was joking with my dad, right? We were at the VA one time, and he was wearing checked in for the hospital for getting some surgery. And it said, property of the U.S. government with a barcode. And I said, Dad, I thought you retired, I thought you said you retired. He's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, look, and I pull his shirt back and says, property, U.S. government. And he looks at me like, what do you do?
Yeah. I love I love seeing the old timers at the VA, they're pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, that's us soon. Well, the young timers need to go to the VA because otherwise they're going to be the old timers and they won't have the energy to go to the VA. And then they'll be like, their wives will be pushing them in the wheelchairs with no energy. And these young timers have all of the care to go there, and they have the ability right now while they're in a younger age to go get their ailments and whatnot looked at. And I'm a big proponent to go get yourself taken care of, whether you're going to get a colonoscopy at 40, 45 years old, or you've got some issues going on and you think you're too young or it's not affecting you you don't want to go to the VA because it's old timers. You know what I mean? There's a real thing. It's like, go get yourself taken care of if you need it.
Yeah, but it is funny to see the difference that, the Vietnam generation guys that are now, like you said, getting wheeled around, getting into arguments with the police, because there's a heavy police presence at the VAs, because we're all fucking nuts. And they gotta have some kind of protection against the doctors and whatnot. And it's just interesting to see that generational divide, and is that what I have to look forward to?
It's true. I was listening to the nurses station, just kind of over listening to the nurses, and they were calling them all these different code names. And I was like, what are you guys saying over here? My dad was in the room, and I was like, what's the WWs? She's like, oh, those are our World War II vets. Yeah. And then we have the Viets. And so they call them WWs, the Viets, and all these different categories of who's in right now. And I just looked at her like, oh, you guys just are filing them away as WWs and Viets and, Afghani and or whatever the case is, Iraq, the war zone of the theater that these guys have gone through. And it just kind of sat with me like, geez, as you hear, there's no more WWs left. You start thinking that there's not going to be Viets and then it just keeps on going down that line, because when I was going to the VA at a younger age, it was the World War II guys and the Koreans that were starting to get wheeled around, when my dad was starting to go in the early 90s. And so to see that, I agree. I've sat at the smoking shack. I've heard the stories from 5 different sailors tell this story 5 times about Kraken that they all killed at 5 different locations.
Everybody's got a war story. Even the guys,
right.
Even some of the guys who never went to war. But
that's what I'm saying. That Kraken's been killed 5 times by 5 different guys at 5 different locations, One time the Kraken came and got me, you see? And the other guy's like, but what about the time it got me? Now you're getting NCIS coming at you, you got the Marines, everybody's saying, hey, you stop what? What's up, man? Like, what's your first thoughts when they're like, why are they coming at you?
My first thought was, oh shit, I need a lawyer. And then it took me a really, really long time to find a lawyer because it was it was unprecedented. No one had ever made a film with government footage. Right. No one had ever really done that. The only other instance was was the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, which was photographed by a combat camp. So that was a soldier who.
Yeah, where the general shot the dude in the street, right?
No, not that one. The massacre in My Lai, they basically killed, I think, 300 women and children. And
oh, I see.
And there were the photographs that were taken were by combat, like a soldier,
embedded with the troops,
whose job was to film. And so there was the whole thing with that was, who's footing? Can we release these photos? Well, they're government property and blah, 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 but it's not classified. It's a war crime. And so eventually I was in that same boat. where I was talking to military lawyers, and they were kind of like scratching their heads and like, yeah, I don't know, this is a gray area. I'm not really sure what to tell you. And it finally, eventually, I was studying at Columbia University, and I found this group called the Knight Institute, and these motherfuckers go hard. I mean, they litigated the release of like CIA black sites in Afghanistan where people were getting tortured. Abuses at Guantanamo, and they were, and then once I fell in with them and they took me on pro bono, I was like, yeah, I'm good, I'm good now. And the Marine Corps basically realized they couldn't bleed me financially, right, by taking me to court, and they would just give more publicity to the film by doing that. So they eventually backed off.